principle. Don't be a retard. Never be retarded. Death before retardation. The limiting principle podcast.
Medical assistance in dying. They refer to it as a kind, empathetic program in which people are euthanized if they are experiencing debilitating illness and disease, and they're going to die anyways. So why not just allow them to choose the date of their death? Medical assistance in dying is now being normalized in the United States as well. It's much worse in Canada. It's like a federal type of situation. In the US, because of the way the states are created, it's a state by state case basis, but it is slowly infiltrating the United States to the point where I live in the state of Illinois. We now have medical assistance in dying. Canada is way far ahead of us in terms of the severity of M.A.I.D. That's what it's called. We'll refer to it as M.A.I.D. from now on, to the point where, which we'll see in 2027, it's going to be up for debate whether or not you can allow the state to kill you if you're suffering from depression and anxiety, which is insane to me, because think about the amount of people that are on SSRIs. How many people are depressed, especially as AI replaces jobs, especially as inflation increases? How many people are going to be depressed, and how many people are going to take the easy way out by allowing the state to euthanize them? We're going to see a video later on between two people, one depressed person and one formerly depressed person, that are suicidal. And it was up for debate in 2023 and 2024 in terms of if people can be euthanized or murdered by the state if they have depression, but it got put off to 2027. So if it passes in 2027, then people can begin the process of having the state kill them based solely on their depression and anxiety levels. And it honestly reminds me of gender affirming care, where they're like, oh, well, no, it's okay because, it's being processed, it's being vetted. You have to want to die for a long period of time and be consistent in that in order to apply for M.A.I.D. It's the same thing with gender affirming care, that you have to be a confused child for a long period of time in order to receive chemicals and then eventual, mutilation. To me, it's kind of the same thought process.
I'm going to repeat this again and again and again and again. Consent is not enough to make something moral or virtuous, period.
Exactly.
Like, you need more than just consent. This goes for genital mutilation. This goes for anything. This goes for everything. Like,
it gets into ridiculous levels later, because the experts in this say, oh, well, if you want to apply for M.A.I.D, you can't be suicidal. You have to be of sound mind. And I'm like, but they want to die. They are suicidal. It's insane. The cognitive dissonance that these people experience. It's insane.
The definition, I'm going to say that for later. Like, honestly, just look at Glenn Beck's face. He's just like, I freaking hate it here right now. Like, just his face is just like, I can't believe this is real.
Here's Glenn Beck watching a ad for M.A.I.D.
Dying in a hospital is not what's natural. That's not what's soft. In these kind of moments, you need softness. It can take dying to figure out what living is actually like. I spent my life filling my heart with beauty, with nature, with connection. So I choose to fill my final moments with the same. I saw the light in your eyes. Last breaths are.
Isn't it so dystopian? It's like this beautiful, ethereal voice with ethereal music talking about how it's not natural to die in a hospital, which is ironic because if you choose to die by M.A.I.D, most likely you are in a hospital setting.
Wait, hold on. This video makes it seem that, like, okay, we're gonna take you to the beach, and then, like, you're gonna hang out, and then, like, what's gonna happen? We're just gonna, like, hook your soul away, and then you just fall immediately on the sands of the beach. What's going on here? Are they gonna give you a pill to put you in a virtual reality beach. Like, this is very odd.
And that's what progressivism is. It's dressing up overtly evil concepts and evil ideas with these sort of vague platitudes of beauty as if they're building a better world. But in reality, they're just trying to mutilate your kids and get you to kill yourself because life sucks. Here we go.
So this is an ad called All is Beauty.
Help to end my life with all the pain.
It is a campaign in support of medically assisted suicide.
You just have to be brave enough to see it. I'm seeing the rhythms of
Now,
what's going to keep going after I'm gone.
I want to be very, very careful here and stick to the facts. Canada is going through a massive transformation. And Canada is leading the way, at least in this hemisphere, on physician-assisted suicide. I understand, as I have watched people die in pain in my life, I understand, and I cannot solve the problem of assisted suicide that we so readily do with our animals, our dogs, and not with people, other than dogs are not people. But it's the same kind of heartbreak. You want them out of pain. So I want to make sure that I am very, very clear. I think the state, I'm undecided on this. My gut is the state doesn't have a role in assisting anyone, ever. But I'm not sure the state has a right to say, I can't die.
It's interesting. His sort of
don't play it again.
No, his libertarian senses. That's always seems to be like the dichotomy. If you're on the right, it's like, like we've been trained, and justifiably so, to believe in small government and to believe the government is evil and they shouldn't be allowed to do these things. But at the same time, I don't know. It's like an interesting battle that goes on the right that Glenn Beck is having in his mind at the same time. Like, he doesn't want the state like that, and that's basically my position.
Well, okay, hold on. Okay, so let's have the conversation. Do you have a right to kill yourself? Oh no, we should have censored that. Oh no, I should have said something else. Do you have a right to I don't know, blast yourself and to catapult yourself into the sun?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
No,
I don't know.
I mean, what do you think?
What do I think?
I don't know.
I think that there should be a stigma around suicide. I think because we don't want to normalize it, and we want to incentivize people to want to live. It's like, oh, you think your life is rough. Your wife has left you. You don't have your kids. You have this disease, but life is still beautiful, and there's still things worth fighting for. So we should want you to continue to live. So I probably would err on the side of caution to think it be criminalized. But I mean, you kill yourself, well, then what's, at that point, what's the risk of criminalization? Because you're dead.
You shouldn't be criminalized. Like, I mean, if you're trying to kill yourself, you should get immediate help. Like, that's what should happen. Like, not immediate, like, oh, we put you in the loony bin kind of thing. But it's like, I don't know, like, you get something, that's absolutely a cry for help, and not responding to that at that point is just, you're abandoning someone to the wolves. Like, you're abandoning someone to the brutality of real life. And it's like, especially nowadays, people don't have a support system. And I mean, if someone really wants to do it, like, what is the state going to do? What, like, even as family, what are you going to do? Like, lock them in their room? Like, if someone really wants to leave, there's nothing you can really do as not them to really stop them.
I agree. I do think that it should be stigmatized. I do, just because, like, I would want people to live, because
you should absolutely be incentivized not to do it. Absolutely not. But I mean, look, and this is the thing: the leftists aren't wrong. We live in a terrible, fucking, brutal, callous, cold, evil world that does not give a shit about you. Like, you're just another number. You're just another person. You're just another, you're just part of the traffic jam in most people's eyes. And so I get it. And we desperately need more people, as much as we need more people in mental health, and not just, people, not just, we need more actual like men in mental health and stuff like that. Like, just like we need more male teachers, we need like people are absolutely crying for help. Just the fact that we talk about this so much more, we talk about all this mental health stuff so much more, and it's only gotten worse. It's like the more we talk about it, the worse that it gets. And it's like, well, maybe talking about it is part of making it worse, but
it absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Well, I don't think it's talking about is making it worse. We're only having a shallow conversation about it. It's like we're just talking about the weather, like, oh yeah, men, you just need to talk more. It's like it's not that easy, actually.
And
like,
it's especially with like for people that just seek like, mental health therapy. It's like, yeah, there's like making sense of what happened to you and kind of creating a story around it in order to rationalize it, and then you can move past it. But a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just keep focusing on the negative, keep focusing on what's wrong with their life, keep focusing on the evil things that happened to you in the past, to the point where you almost become narcissistic about it and you become obsessed with it, and then it defines you.
Yeah, and I mean, the inherent problem with just seeking mental health services and counseling and all that stuff is the reliability of the narrator. And this is, I was listening to Patrick David interview Andrew Wilson. Shout out to Andrew Wilson. But he made a really good point. He's like, I don't know about giving people advice, because the problem is they're basically, to summarize his point, is they're giving you their version of the story. They're not giving you the honest truth of what's going on. They're not going to be honest about their faults and their and their, whatever they did to, fuel the fire. So when you give them advice, you're going to give them bad advice, because you're actually not reflecting reality. And so the inherent problem with psychology and all that stuff is as the psychologist or the counselor, you need to know that the person is probably lying to you.
Oh yeah. And the thing is that person is lying to them, but the person is most likely also lying to themselves as well.
Of course.
If anything, if there's anything that I've learned that is just like a universal truth, is that we are unreliable narrators in our own story. And honestly,
like, and then thinking about it, like, you deep down, what you need to do, at least on the surface, to stop your own personal bullshit. Like, whether it's to stop the drinking or the drugs or the womanizing or whatever it may be, like, what you have to do. You don't have to go to another human being to really say that. Like, you can really say it, like, you can say it to yourself. Like, it's very difficult. Maybe you do need to go to someone else so you can get that extracted from you. But like, if you really sit down and think about it, you fucking know. And all you have to do, at least this won't solve everything, but it's a huge step. And you can save yourself a few years on the mental health journey by just stopping doing the bad things. And yes, I know that you have a feeling, and the whole vicious cycle, and the shame, and then the rebounding or whatever it is, and then going back to whatever your addiction is. I get that.
And like, that's why I like Christianity. You can say whatever religion, but for me, it's Christianity, because I think it allows you to confront your own sins and your shortcomings. Because if you just go to a therapist, it's, you can't really, it's hard to seek, it's hard to be absolved of your sins from just some man. So I feel like you're more willing to lie about what's happening and not actually confront you. Like, so many people just blame all of their problems on other people, externalize blame. But if you have like a if you have like a transcendental to plead to, he could absolve you of the things you've done. At the same time, you're also confronting those things you've done and like reconciling them with you, so you can live with it. With therapists, it's harder to do that. And I think obviously we're heading in a direction where it's like, don't worry about the things you've done. Don't worry about these issues. You can just kill yourself because you're really depressed. The BBC released a video concerning M.A.I.D and asking if medical assistance in dying has gone too far. Let's take a look at that.
More than 15,000 people a year have a medically assisted death in Canada. The vast majority are terminally ill, and many of them choose to die at home.
This theater feels like the most special, unique place on earth for me, and it just feels fitting that I should take my final breath here.
But this is where performance artist April Hubbard wants to die, on stage at her local theatre in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Bro, okay, so this is a really sensitive topic, and we're going to see some pretty sad stuff involving the humans that are involved in this. I always think it helps when you're dealing with these. I mean, I view this as evil, I do, but I always think that it helps to be able to actually hear testimonials from the people that want to pursue it, whether it be M.A.I.D or gender affirming care. But she's a theater kid, and she wants to die on stage.
So she wants to die on stage?
Yeah.
Does she want it to be live streamed or filmed or recorded in any way?
That's a really good question.
Because I had this thought a long time ago. I don't know when, a few years ago, but it's like, because I was looking at something like the average lifespan of a YouTuber is like 4 to 7 years or something like that. And then I'm thinking of these influencers, and then I'm thinking like, bro, what's going to happen? Like, because you're going to have superstars like Mr. Beast, for example. Like,
yeah,
if you get like, is Mr. Beast going to like record his death? Like, a thought that popped through my head. Like, okay, so on one hand, it would get like 1 trillion views. Like, it would be the ultimate send off for someone who has essentially made their life being like the smiling doofus kid on YouTube. Like, you know, like, so I can totally see that happening. And then looking at something like this, like, okay, is this where we're going? Like, because I get it, people. And this, oh God, I'm going to make a weird analogy here, and I'm sorry. We're already in a dark place. This person who wants to do this is expressing a very human thing of wanting to sort of be remembered and like before you go. And, you know, like, this is one of the reasons why mass shooters became mass shooters, so they can be sort of remembered in infamy. I mean, this is sort of obviously this is not the same sort of thing, but it's still the human urge to be like, someone remember me. It's still like a call for help. It's a yearn to be connected to other people. And it's just, fuck, man. It's what do you do with this sort of existential dread? And
it's like, should the person, like my family, for instance, supports this, and should a person, I mean, technically this woman could kill herself. Right? She could swallow a bunch of pills and kill herself. And honestly, I'd probably prefer that, because she could just go to sleep and it would be painless, and then she would die. I understand that she could vomit up the pills.
It wouldn't be painless. Like this.
If you just OD on a drug and you're unconscious when you die.
Yeah, because you don't know how, unless, I don't know, you eat a pound of fentanyl, like you're still gonna so it's still gonna feel weird.
It is.
Like, it's this idea that like, oh, I just take a few sleeping pills and I just drift off, is really not true, and needs to sort of stop, because you're sort of like, oh, just like that woman is romanticizing her death, like we're sort of romanticizing that as well.
Someone could investigate ways to kill themselves, and they could come up with a surefire plan to make sure that it happens.
Yes.
And so, like, I go back to what Glenn Beck said earlier, and it's like, I don't think the state should have the power to kill someone, especially if it goes in the direction of you just having depression and anxiety. And I say just depression and anxiety. I understand I've suffered from depression and anxiety my whole life. I'm better now. And I understand how dark and deep it can get, to the point where I felt like dying. And I'm glad that I did not choose that. So, like, okay, if you have ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, whatever it's called, you're never going to come out of ALS. It is a horrific disease where all your nerves stop responding, your muscles shrink, you eventually become entombed in your own body. That is a horrible disease. But with depression, you can always come out of that. You know, you might struggle with it your whole life, but in between the struggles, you're going to find little hints of beauty. Obviously, that's the state going too far. And that's why I go back to Glenn Beck, is I don't think the state should have the power to do this, because it is, as we're seeing in Canada, and now it's spreading to the US, the ultimate slippery slope. But at the same time, does the state have the right to tell you you can't end your own life?
She is not terminally ill. Why do you want to end your life?
I want to end my life because the balance of being able to live and enjoy life is no longer outweighing the pain that I'm in. And there's many days where I can't lift my head off the pillow and I can't eat anymore. And it's not a way I want to live for another 10 or 20 or 30 years.
A serious spinal condition means April has been on strong opioid painkillers for more than 20 years, including these fentanyl patches.
So these 4 medications are my core meds that I have to have all the time to function right now.
She's been approved for medical assistance in dying, M.A.I.D, because her condition is incurable and she finds her suffering intolerable.
M.A.I.D is very much another medical choice for me. It's another type of medical care. But that ability to have autonomy over my own body has been the leading factor for me.
Canada's assisted dying laws were introduced as a result of legal challenges in the courts. That's unlike the situation in Britain, where momentous social changes are left to Parliament rather than judges.
In 2 years, Canada plans to extend assisted dying to adults with a mental illness and no physical ailment. The government says the law respects the rights of the individual while protecting the vulnerable. For critics, it's a further slide down an already slippery slope.
Opponents of M.A.I.D argue it's being used as an alternative to social or medical support. Ramona Coelho, a family doctor, says it's far quicker to get aid in dying than specialist care.
Canada has.
That's insane. Like the entire medical model is like it should not be easier to access suicide drugs and suicide methods, but I don't even want to call it.
So we should have more people in who are providing mental health assistance that's not gutting someone. Oh yes, we should.
Yeah. And so the fact that it's now become easier to access this kind of quote unquote care than it is actually like preventative measures of providing medical and social and psychological support. This is like just like the guy said, it is once again, the slippery slope is not a fallacy. It is a iron law. It's the slippery slope. It's just think about the amount of people that are on SSRI drugs. Think about the amount of people that are depressed. And as wages remain stagnant, and the price of living just increases, how many people are just going to be depressed because they're having situational depression, and then they're going to choose choose medical assistance and dying?
The Great Depression 2.0 is going to be that's going to be Kali Yuga. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the problem that I have with this whole thing. So I looked up on Grok this, I was looking up some things and I asked it to give me the top 10 causes of death in Canada. And so looking at it, it gave me it gave me cancer, heart disease, accidents and then stroke as the top 4. And then so I was like, oh, where's I'm like, oh, where's M.A.I.D on it? And it's like, well, M.A.I.D is not listed on it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, why not? And it's like, okay, so if someone had cancer and then goes to M.A.I.D and then they get the procedure done, what's their cause of death? Cancer.
That's
so
insane.
Okay. So I was like, wait a second. So what if that person applies to M.A.I.D, they have cancer, they get denied? What if then that person then goes to their home and then they go and take the sleeping pill route? What's their cause of death? Well, shouldn't it be suicide? So it's like, I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, so hold on. So if the doctor and the state do the medical intervention, which a medical intervention that causes your death, like that's insane that you're calling it a medical intervention. Like it's assisted suicide. Shut the fuck up with this euphemistic fucking language and just say what it is. Like I'm tired of this pretend ignorance, this leftist, trope of, oh, I'm just going to take the dumbest and I'm just going to play the stupidest person just so we can't have an actual freaking conversation about this. So what I'm gathering is if the doctors in the state kill you, it's going to be listed as the underlying illness that killed you, whether it's ALS, multiple sclerosis, cancer, depression, whatever it is. But if you fucking do it, then it's going to be listed as something else. It's going to be listed as suicide probably because that like you did it to yourself. So it creates this weird situation where if you do something, no, that's not allowed, suicide is wrong, don't commit suicide. But if we kill you, it's a medical intervention that's fucking okay. Like, oh my God, that's ghoulish and demonic and horrifying.
And it's
on itself. And then sorry, one more thing before like I lose it. It's called M.A.I.D. M-A-I-D. What do you think happens when you think of M.A.I.D? Like, especially if you're like a 20-something-year-old. Do you think of those freaking weeaboo maids who are like, oh, kawaii, hello, like just like sweeping something, and they're fucking sweeping your entrails. Like that is what's actually happening. It's like just the propaganda of it being like, oh, we're here like providing some kind service. No, it fucking kills you. Oh, it's so disgusting. Like just that is so evil. I think
it's completely Orwellian.
It's
it's like, yeah, sure, we injected them with poison, but we injected them with poison because they had cancer. So yeah, it was the cancer that killed them because they chose to die because of the cancer. No, if you have cancer and you jump off a bridge and you splatter onto pavement, like no, your cause of death was jumping off of the bridge, not because you had. It's so indicative, and of course, it's the leftists that support this. It's always progressives and leftists that support this because the Christians, the right, will go, well, no, you have an inherent worth to who you are because you have a soul. With leftists and progressives, it's none that exists. It is purely the material world. None of that matters. So there is no inherent worth and meaning to your life. It's just a complete bastardization of all reality. And it drives me nuts. That's why if you look at the leftist program, everything is eugenics. Planned Parenthood, gender affirming care, medical assistance in dying. It's all eugenics, and especially if so many elites on the left keep pointing out that there's too many people on Earth and that all of these people are contributing to climate change. Like the entire thing is basically a giant death program, if you look at it, which is crazy to me that they've convinced everyone that they're actually like the saviors of humanity.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, okay, then like you can go deeper with this, and it's like, okay, so why would the state be? Because they're obviously okay with people killing themselves, but like why do they want to do it so badly? Like that's my question. Why is there monetary incentive for the doctors who are performing it? Which that's a whole nother, do no harm kind of thing that we should probably have a conversation about. Like, wait, you're doing what? You're basically, you might as well have an axe in your hands at that point.
And that's what it eventually becomes. That's what it has become. It is a industry revolving around.
Dude, there are doctors whose entire job is to just end human life.
I wouldn't even call it a slippery slope. When people have suicidal ideations, we used to meet them with counseling and care.
Same with gender affirming care, when people used to think that they were the opposite sex or gender, and instead, we would give them care. And of course, now that is labeled as conversion therapy, that you're trying to convert someone for being trans into being supposedly a cis person. So again, it's just another de-evolution of medical care into basically entertaining people's worst ideas of what they want to be, whether that be dead or to be trans. It's the complete reversal of where we should be at in society.
And actually, for people with terminal illness and other diseases, we could mitigate that suffering and help them have a better life. And yet now we are seeing that as an appropriate request to die and ending their lives very quickly.
Sharon Scribner's family say she was repeatedly offered M.A.I.D when she was dying of lung cancer in hospital at the age of 81.
We had the nurse come in saying, you should fill this paper out, Sharon, before you go so you can get on the list to see the M.A.I.D doctor. And my mom said, no, thanks. They really did not want us to leave until my mom had signed these papers.
You brought your mum home to die. What was her death like?
Beautiful. We had the palliative care team in the community came in, and it gave all the family time to visit her. They came from far and wide, and she had the best last day of
Pause
her
it right
life.
there for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, because she said like beautiful, and okay, I don't like death.
Same.
But I think if you're gonna die, the most natural way of dying is to be is how the ancients did it, to be surrounded by your family at home.
Yep.
Surrounded by your family, the people that you love, and then you have those final moments, which, yeah, and everyone should be involved, even the little kids and everything, because look, it's something you're gonna eventually experience. That is always a better option than to be in the hospital for any godforsaken reason.
Yeah, and I mean, like, death is always sad, but it can be beautiful if you believe in an afterlife. And with the interventions they have now, if someone's in severe pain, you can give them drugs, you can give them morphine. There are actually good medical interventions where you can relieve a person's suffering so they're not in complete agony up until the moment of death. Like this woman, the fact that they kept insisting that she like apply for it or apply for the possibility to have it. It's coercive.
Well,
it's like, hey, I know you're suffering. Why don't you just kill yourself instead of spending your remaining time with your family? Like,
so that brings up the question of what are their incentives of doing so? Is it just like COVID, where if you said that, oh, this person died from COVID or with COVID, that they got a kickback or something? Is this the same? Like, is it that if you get someone's MA.I.D, you get like a commission or something like that? Because that's what it feels like to me. Because any logical person, any logical doctor, yeah, okay, you'd ask them once, maybe twice, to be like, hey, do you want this service? No. Okay, maybe you'll come a few days later. Hey, are you sure? I just want to check. I just want to be sure. I'll just ask you after the second time. I'm not going to ask you again. Do you want this? No. Okay, now if you do want this, let me know, because we're here to serve you. Like, okay, any logical doctor or nurse would be like, well, obviously they want to be with their family as long as possible. And if you don't believe that, what the fuck are you doing in the profession? Like, you are not intelligent enough to have that, even though that's something that involves wisdom and common sense. You should be immediately removed from your profession if you cannot understand that.
exactly.
So it was special.
Strangely, these days I use my stethoscope more to determine if someone has no heartbeat.
Dr. Konya Troughton has administered lethal doses to hundreds of patients. She says M.A.I.D is working well in Canada.
So I'd start an intravenous, probably there.
Oh my God, Skip, this is terrible.
She's gonna kill him right here.
Okay.
Oh my God, no, we already saw this. Like, ew, this is so gross.
Injecting the drugs means it usually takes only a few minutes to die.
That's where the drugs would go in.
Yeah, the drugs would be threaded through here. So each of this just has a little barrel that I can attach a syringe to.
This is not what's planned for England and Wales, where patients would need to self-administer, usually drink, the dose. She says it's more effective for doctors to carry it out.
For the patients, at the last moment, they're always looking in my eyes and giving me the heads up and ready to go. They are directing the process. That gives me an honor.
Whatever you have to tell yourself to sleep better at night, lady.
That gives her a what?
And a duty and a privilege to be able to help them in those last moments with their family around them, with those who love them around them, and to know that they've made that decision thoughtfully, carefully, and thoroughly.
Terminally ill patients can get approval to...
Keep in mind, this woman is not terminally ill. She's just in severe pain, which of course my heart goes out to her, but still, she's not terminally ill.
Die in just 24 hours. For April, it took 7 months. Now she has the go-ahead. She feels reassured.
Without that safety net, I don't think I'd have the courage to keep taking the risk of living. And I think I would have made that choice to end it myself, and alone, and without the support of the people I love long ago. And my fear is that that's what will happen for many folks around the world.
Wait,
April has not set a date for her death, but says it will be sometime in the coming months, surrounded by family and loved ones. Fergus Walsh, BBC News.
So she's been approved for M.A.I.D, even though she's not. See, no, I have family members that have debilitating, weird autoimmune diseases that they don't even know about, that they can't even classify. And so I look at this and I'm like, well, if they get to a point, they get a little bit older and they get to this point and this stuff comes to America, are they going to be able to do this to themselves? And then they'll be deprived of life and I'll be deprived of having them in my life. Like a lot of it's selfish, right? A lot of the stuff we do is for selfish reasons, but I also want them to live and have a happy life. So just the fact that they're doing this and approving it for people, I don't approve of any of it, but especially they're not even terminally ill is just.
But there's something weird about this that I don't understand. She said that like she needed, like, is she saying that she needed the medical permission to do this? Because if she would have done it on her own, then she would have been alone. But then at the end, she basically says she's going to go through this assisted suicide and she's going to be surrounded by her family. And I'm thinking, wait, hold on. So if you've had like this, like if you've been debilitated like this for decades, like what was it, at least 20 years, and your whole family knows this, can't you go to them and be like, hey guys, like, look at all these fentanyl patches. I'm just going to take all of them and I'm going to do it on this day. And then I want everyone to be here. And like, and then, there could be family talks and interventions. And then what if she still decides to do this? And she could just do this without the state. Like, I don't understand in this story why the permission of the state is necessary for the rest of the family members to be like, oh, okay, this is fine now. Like, I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense. Like this just,
it's not supposed to. It's not supposed
like
to
propaganda. Like, hey, the state, as long as the state puts a stamp on it, then the killing is okay because you're not doing it to yourself. Like, so you absolve like any sort of Christian or your like sort of religious, sort of issues with this or negative repercussions that you might have from this because like isn't killing yourself wrong.
And it's just
so I just don't like there's no logic behind that, because if she was so adamant about this and so sure and her family was supportive of this woman, they would have accepted her going out without the intervention of the state. So am I missing anything here?
Nope. It's just the continuing devaluation of human life. Nothing means anything.
It's one thing for individuals to devalue human life, and we see this all the time with criminals and stuff like that. And it's funny because we don't, our states don't do anything about the criminals, so that just further proves the point that they don't care about the citizens or life in general.
This is from the Christian Broadcasting Network about Canada setting a new record, killing 16,499 people by euthanasia. And it actually specifically talks about disabled citizens feeling threatened.
But didn't we say this was going to happen when we were having the argument on national abortion? The people on the right were like, hey, if you start not caring about the lives of fetuses, then we're going to start on the other end by not caring about the lives of old people.
There's been no more vindicated demographic than the church ladies from the 80s and the 90s. They are the most vindicated demographic in existence. Everything they've been talking about, the devaluing of human life, the redefining of terms, pushing degeneracy, everything has come to fruition. They may as well be prophets. But the Health Canada's 6th annual report on M.A.I.D report reveals that a total of 16,499 people were put to death by euthanasia in 2024 alone. That is 1 in 20 deaths. 1 in 20 deaths. The biggest increase was in 2019 to 2020 by 36.8%. There was another big increase of 6.9 for 2023 to 2024.
Wasn't 2020 like when we were all locked down?
Yeah, exactly. Now, they still can't kill themselves because of depression. But think about that. If you have a illness that is eventually going to kill you, or as you saw in that woman in the wheelchair, an illness that's horrible, and obviously they're willing to kill you over that. If you have that illness and then you begin suffering extreme bouts of depression with the COVID lockdowns and everything that's going on, aren't you more likely to be willing to apply for M.A.I.D, even though maybe you could have lived another 20 to 30 years with whatever debilitating or fatal illness you had? That's why the whole conversation is so asinine to me. It's like, oh no, they know they want to die. It's like, no, you could have a guy with stage 3 cancer who has a fun life and he's suffering, but if he comes under hard times, then he's going to be like, oh well, there's this option to kill myself and this is going to kill me eventually, so why not kill myself now? So it doesn't make sense. It is inherently unethical. It makes no sense to me that we could have someone that wants to, it's almost like the abortion argument. That's why I always hate where they go, oh, well, leftists and people on the left will, they'll argue about like, at what point do you want to kill the baby? And it's like, or what point do you want to end the life? And it's like, well, no, the main conversation should be based around what is that life? What, like, it becomes completely that you're essentially your own God, that you were determining, oh, life begins at conception. That's the only thing that makes sense to me logically and religiously. So what does life begin when fingernails are there, when the heartbeat is there, when the face is there? So it is the, like, the pinnacle of, what's the word I'm looking for? It is the pinnacle of the subjective nature of trying to determine what something is or what it is not. And that's the same thing with this. You could have someone that wants to live that has a horrible disease, but if they come under hard times, all of a sudden they go, oh, well, I have the disease, I'm going to kill myself anyways. It's the same kind of thought process. Striking an upbeat tone about the killings, Canada's Minister of Health, Marjorie Michel, said, I am pleased to share Health Canada's 6th annual report on medical assistance in dying. She claimed that the program ensures that the federal legal framework protects those who are vulnerable while supporting freedom of choice and I hate this, personal autonomy. I love how these people are all authoritarian leftist whack jobs, but then when it comes to their own personal pet ideological projects, all of a sudden they become diehard libertarians. It pisses me off so much. So
wait. If they would support freedom of choice and personal autonomy, then they would also, the logical sentence after that would be like, if you decide to use sleeping pills and kill yourself at home, that's fine too. Because
of course,
freedom of choice, right?
Yeah, that's the ruse, is that they say they support the personal freedom and autonomy, and then yet they want to incorporate that into the federal government.
No. It has to go through them. Like, oh, please, sir or madam, may I do this to myself? Why, yes, gentle person, you may. But if we decide to use our own intellect and go around them, no, that's not okay. Like, fuck, dude.
Exactly. So nearly 1/5 of the 23,000 people who requested M.A.I.D had a grievous and irredeemable medical condition, such as diabetes, autoimmune conditions, and chronic pain. And again, those are not death sentences.
Wait, hold on. Irremediable? Hold on. You can't.
Irremediable.
Because we can't reverse it. It's done. It's over.
But about 4% of people who were approved for assisted suicide did not have a terminal diagnosis or reasonably foreseeable death. Now, autoimmune conditions are horrible. Chronic pain conditions are horrible. Diabetes are horrible. They're all horrible conditions, but many of those conditions, you can live decades and decades of your life, and there'll be some suffering. But again, life is suffering. That's why I hate this entire thing. So nearly 23% of people reported isolation or loneliness as a reason for seeking euthanasia.
I'm telling you, it is, when you go to zero, you are fucked. I understand what it means to go to zero, like, especially if, and it's really common nowadays, getting a divorce, like, because especially when you're married, a lot of your friends at that point become connected to your marriage. And if you are deemed the villain of the divorce, then, well, it's very easy to go down to zero at that point. And yeah, especially you go to zero during COVID or during a time where everyone decides to be isolated. Well, no duh, other deaths spiked during COVID. Like, there's no surprise that all that happened.
And I like this too, because oftentimes these people, right, there's an entire field. It's an offshoot of queer theory called queer crip theory, where they're basically trying to co-opt crippled people and disabled people and bring them into the LGBTQ monolith in order to increase their numbers. These people are demonic. One of the things they actually released one time was they said that in order to destigmatize around people that are disabled, people that have deformities and stuff like that, they were working to destabilize the idea that that incest should be viewed as a negative thing. And they said, because incest is often viewed as a negative thing, because if you do it enough, eventually you're going to start to have deformed children. So the fact that you don't want to have people perform incest means that it's actually a form of ableism against disabled people, because the product of incest is often disabled people, right? That's literally, there's an entire field of study out there about that, actually. Anyways, so
excuse me, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the Life Institute cites reports of people being pressured to participate in M.A.I.D, like we heard before. That lady, Roger Foley, a disabled Canadian who suffers from an incurable brain disease that makes it difficult to move, told the Daily Mail his caregivers have suggested that M.A.I.D is his way out of the hospital. He goes on to say, I'm fighting to my last breath. but I'm up against a regime that is cruel, desensitized, and out for blood. TV star Lisa Carr told Life Institute that disabled people like herself feel frightened and threatened by assisted suicide. And I love this because the left will often use these kinds of groups, people that are maybe marginalized or, aren't represented in society enough. They use them in order to further their own agendas. So the fact that they're highlighting these people and having them express concerns about a leftist agenda is amazing to me, because I hate this idea of the left being the voice of the voiceless, so the voice of the marginalized. I hate it. So the fact that they're actually
definitely not when it comes to abortion. It's like, oh, these marginalized women. It's like, well, at least you can speak a language.
Yeah. And then they went to say, it is deeply disturbing to see such an increase in deaths by euthanasia, especially as all these people are being sold the idea that death is a solution to suffering. We're all human beings who deserve to be treated with greater respect than this, not like worthless beings who can be cast aside, which pretty much says it all in terms of my opinion. Like, you are a human being. Like, I don't think that some guy who has an IQ of 50, I don't think he's worth any less than I am, because I don't view human worth through the lens of how productive you are.
Well, hold on. Okay, so it's like, all people are created equal. It's supposed to be a self-evident thing. But okay, so this person who has a 50 IQ, they're not going to produce as much as an average citizen. They're going to, in fact, be a drain on society.
Yeah.
And okay, and then so gosh, I don't even know where to go from here. Like, I guess the next thing would be like, okay, so what if a significant portion of the population started being born with 50 IQ, and then suddenly the whole population has a 50 IQ? Are you going to have a worse quality of life in that situation? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this makes the conversation really complicated, because
it does.
Like, okay, so especially on an atheistic level, yeah, actually this person is worth less. Like,
oh yeah, no, exactly.
The numbers they're putting out, yes, this person is worth less. Okay, so what makes them equally as valuable? Because this is something that should be self-evident.
Well, to me, it's because of belief system. To me, it is just because they have a soul. Like, in the eyes of God, that person is no less of a person than I am. Obviously, people provide more worth in life than other people based on their abilities and what they choose to do in life. Obviously, that's like a material reality, but I don't think that, I know you don't think this either. I don't think that those people that provide less in terms of material contributions should be considered any less human than someone who ends up running a giant charity which gives millions of homes to foster children. But it's just the continuing theme of the devaluation of human life. So the Atlantic, it's kind of like a mainstream liberal publication, released an article called "Canada is Killing Itself," and it doesn't read as a hit job, they said. He just simply presented the facts and then let the policy's biggest boosters speak for themselves. So presented the facts, and then of course it gave a platform to the people that are fans of M.A.I.D. In one sentence towards the end of our 11,000 word essay, Plot Calabro accurately pointed out that the Quebec College of Physicians has raised the idea of extending current M.A.I.D practices to cover infants under 1 year old in cases of severe deformities. Legalizing euthanasia for babies, she further noted, would put Canada in the same category as Nazi Germany, which did so in 1939, at which point everybody lost their minds. That the baby has a deformity, and so you're like, oh, well, the baby's going to suffer to some degree, so let's kill the baby. How could someone consent? And again, this just goes into the abortion issue, of course, about what is and what is not a life and when life begins. But so you're a parent and you can consent for your child to be euthanized? Like, this is why it's the ultimate slippery slope. It introduces so many ethical questions that there's no clear answer to. To me, you would err on the side of caution and not do any of it. Completely get rid of medical assistance in dying, because it has nowhere else to go but to these extremes. That was always going. In fact, when this legislation was introduced, it was specifically introduced with provisions and ideas that would push it here. It was never going to just be someone who is terminally ill and about to die in like 5 minutes. It was always designed to expand to these other avenues. It's designed from the start.
Like, we look down at Sparta for like putting the baby in the mountain and being like, oh, well, the baby just died and suffered. But then Canada, or you know, in the modern society, we're functionally doing the same thing, but we're saying, oh, well, we use consent and we're being nice and we're putting a smiley face on it. We're calling it M.A.I.D and we're making it super kawaii and cute. So it's okay now, right? And it's like, no, just because you consent to something, just because you dress it up pretty, doesn't remove what you're doing deep down, which is killing people who you deem unworthy.
And it just goes, and that goes along with leftism, progressivism, having no limiting principles, is that the people that support this and follow this, they trust the institutions as if the institutions, the state, is God. And so they're willing to go along with, like, it's funny, they'll in private they won't support it or whatever, but they'll still continue to support the politicians that push this. And a lot of people do support it because they think that it's some sort of kindness or empathy, but they'll just go along with it just to go along. This is how evil spreads.
It's so sad because as a society, we're such a pick me society that like we're so depressed with like the people around us. Like, divorce rate is through the roof. Like all the people around me are backstabbing me and betraying me and selling me out for money or hoes or whatever. And then it's like we're so desperate. Like, hey, maybe these elected people who like, maybe if we look at the government, maybe they will care about us. Like, that's how depressed and sad we are, that we're looking for the government for validation. Because we're not getting it anywhere else. We're not going to church. We're not getting it from churches and religion. We're not getting it from like inner light or inner faith. We're getting it from nowhere. Oh.
I also think that the more technological interventions, the more of these supposed improvements on society and making life easier. Obviously, it's nice that we have antibiotics. It's obviously nice that we have a lot of these interventions, but I do think there is some sort of like underlying truth to what makes us human. And the more buildings we build, the more technology that's invented, that removes us from communal experiences like concerts, movie theaters, orchestras, etc. I do believe that we slowly actually lose our humanity because we're no longer directly interacting with those things that provide those fundamental truths. I think that's how societies go insane. The more interventions that are placed upon us, the further away we get from what you could call nature or God's creation. I do think that's a thing. But so it's interesting because back to killing babies. They said even the federal minister of disability inclusion, right? This person's entire reason for being in existence is to push for the inclusion of disability. Even she, Carla Qualtrough, was upset when we explained the college's position on 0 to 1 year old babies being euthanized to her. He admitted, oh, it's a guy. Interesting. Is it a guy? I don't even know. Still, it's nothing to get worked up about, he argued. The college never mentioned euthanasia for babies, nor the idea of administering medical aid in dying without the consent of the parents. Again, same thing with transgender ideology. You need the consent of the parents. What it did say was that it was an avenue to be explored and that the suffering of parents also had to be taken into account. So the parent is suffering because their child is suffering. So that somehow gives the state the okay to go ahead and end the child's life. And these people, they truly believe, like leftist, progressive, they truly believe that we sort of live in this like society that is completely post-evil and that it's never going to go as far as the crazy right-wingers say it's going to. And yet, as we've seen over the last 20 years, that's exactly where it's gone. And it's only going to get worse.
We're post-evil. Yeah.
That's what they think. They're like, oh, yeah, sure, the CIA might have killed JFK and done all this other shit and toppled regimes, but now Trump just hates the CIA and the CIA hates Trump because the CIA is our friend. Like, it is a complete, like, it's just completely naive. So the BBC released I think it was a pretty fair representation of the push in Canada to move just from people that have debilitating diseases or terminal diseases to the push for allowing people to kill themselves based solely on mental illness.
Dying with Dignity is an advocacy group for people considering medically assisted dying. As controversy around the potential expansion builds, they've received an increase in calls from people with mental health problems. The team are doing additional training to better protect callers.
Suicide intervention is really a conversation, right, between two people. there'll be a moment where this person might recognize that they have some reasons to stay alive.
We have some really difficult calls, people who cannot access M.A.I.D, who are not eligible, or maybe the law doesn't allow them to access M.A.I.D at this time. Some of the calls are distressing, and sometimes a wellness check has to be done. Assisted dying for those with a mental disorders, their sole underlying condition, is not currently legal. We expect that to change in 2024. What exactly that will look like, we're still not 100%.
And of course, this is a little bit older of a video. It did not change in 2024. It got pushed back to now, where it's going to be reevaluated in 2027.
100% sure. There will be a longer.
I was gonna say, why does it keep on getting pushed back? Like, if it's so important, when I just
thankfully, there's a lot of people that are not on board with it and are arguing with it. I haven't looked into it. I would assume that it's largely a left and right argument, just like the gender issue is.
For assessment period right now, for those people who are in what we call track 2, or whose deaths are not foreseeable, it's a minimum of 90 days. We anticipate it will be at least the same for those with a mental disorder. There will be some consultation with an individual with expertise, so whether it's a psychiatrist or
which is insane. 90 days. I have been depressed, not exactly suicidal, but severely depressed and wanted to die for longer than 90 days at a time. I've had months, I've had an entire year where I've had severe depression. Nothing tasted like anything. The entire world was gray. So, and post that, there's been so many moments of my life that I've enjoyed, and there's been beautiful moments. So the fact that it should be nothing, but 90 days is nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
I just, you say that, and I'm like, so the world physically appeared more gray to you, and it's like, okay, I would totally believe that, because it's incredible, the physical manifestations and reactions that we have to non-physical things. Like, it's just unbelievable and incredible how we react to things like that. So
it's
a counselor, a therapist, that type of consultation will be required. Clinicians are really going to be looking at the history, how long people have been working on their mental health, what treatments have they tried, what has their life been like. They'll be ensuring people aren't currently suicidal. M.A.I.D is not for someone who's suicidal.
Bruh, I want to die, and I want to die, and I want the government to kill me.
How is that possible? I want a medical intervention that will 100% of the time lead to my death.
But they're not suicidal.
How? No, that is
the dissonance. How do you hold those two contradictory statements in your mind at the same time and not go insane?
It's funny, because speaking of physical things, I have a physical reaction to cognitive dissonance, or to hear something that's so it's obviously paradoxical thinking. My brain physically hurts. It's like my ADHD or my ADD symptom of it feels like my brain is going into two physical directions, and then I get stuck and I don't know what to do. That's happened a few times when students overwhelm me. I'm just I pause and I'm like, damn it, what do I do? And I'm like, okay, go to the first request and just go all the way down. I see this and my brain just short circuited. How are you?
Angel, wait, come on. It makes sense. Okay, they're not suicidal.
No, it hurts.
Wait,
it hurts.
Hold on.
Two ideas at once.
Hold on. They're not suicidal. They just want the government to help them kill themselves.
What?
It's a well thought out decision from someone who is, in the right frame of mind. What I think is important is that people have the right to choose. And the suffering that we hear about and that people experience as a result of a mental illness can be just as
Look at the little disclaimer up here. You're not alone. Free confidential hours. Do you think in Canada this says you're not alone and it just gives you the phone number to the M.A.I.D hotline?
You're not alone, but you will be once we get through with you.
Oh my god.
From a physical illness. When you talk to someone like John and you hear about his decades of trauma, it's really difficult for me to understand.
So they covered this guy earlier in the video. Really quick, he's just a former veteran suffering from horrible PTSD, and he's had depression and anxiety for years and years that has not alleviated, and he's tried to kill himself multiple times.
Understand how anyone couldn't agree that this is a person who needs the opportunity to be assessed.
So we start with calcium. 3 left.
One.
One?
One. In our everyday, ongoing lives, I don't try and help him too much, because if I do, he'll just sit in the chair all day. So if he wants to make tea, I say, yes, that'd be very nice to make tea. So he has to get up and make the tea. And he has to, and I have to remind him to take the walker, because he'll get halfway across the room and start falling over. So I have to make sure that either I can get the walker to him or I can catch him.
I met my wife, Tony, in a coffee shop in Wellington, New Zealand. She saw me in the coffee shop reading a Donald Duck comic. And she kind of found this was kind of weird. Some clown reading a Donald Duck comic, a grown man, well, it was 20-year-old. We got to love each other. She is a treasure and a gem, and I live for her. When I started to get sick and immobile, there's nothing she wouldn't do to this very day. My body collapsed, my mind collapsed terribly. I had to get rid of the depression. I had attempted suicide twice. The PTSD plays into it all the time, as does anxiety. They all roll into one.
The last time it happened, I was living up north, and John was renting a place in the city because he's working in the city at the time. And I got a call.
So yeah, it profiles him a little bit and discusses his want and need to apply for medical assistance in dying because of his overriding suicide. And it's just heartbreaking. It features his wife obviously talking about how she wants him to continue to live. And so I don't support it. I understand wanting to die because of depression, but I mean, clearly, I don't know.
Dude, at the same time, like I was thinking, I don't know, yesterday or a few hours ago, like, would I choose M.A.I.D if I got dementia or Alzheimer's? And I paused and I was like, fuck, I don't know, man. Like, if I couldn't remember anything, if especially as I hate to say this, but it's true. I pride myself on my brain, not because I think I'm smart, just because like I can just remember. I have a good memory. I can remember things, and like good memories and bad memories, and just the feeling and idea of that I'm just going to forget all that and just not be myself, and like sort of like have my brain corrupted over time and be basically a useless human being. Like, do I want to live like that? And it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, if I can't remember my name, if I look at people, if I have kids and I can't remember their names, or I look at my wife and I can't remember her name, like, how devastating is that?
But hey, if it's any consolation, if you wait long enough, eventually you won't remember that you wanted to kill yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, but this brings up like, because we discussed this before with AI, like, okay, what if the option was, this is going to be the option eventually, is M.A.I.D or the Grok 18 chip in your head to get rid of the dementia and to override the dementia through, I'm not even going to get into it, I'll just make it woo woo, but like that's eventually going to be the sort of solution. And I'm sorry if that's a solution, I'm picking the AI chip 100% of the time.
Yeah,
there's no way around it. I'm too much of a chicken shit to prematurely end my life in any way. Like,
and obviously that this is the direction that the society is heading. It's just, that's why, I often feel like an old man just shaking my fist at the clouds that all of this stuff shouldn't happen. And clearly that is the direction that it's heading in.
That's the thing. You can't remove the human suffering that happens at the end of life, especially because we've extended human life. So it's not the physical things that are getting us, it's the mental things. And what is it? Like, it's an absurd percentage of people above 80 have dementia. Like, it's 30 to 50% or something, like some form of dementia. And it's like, but if we're going to live even longer, like that's just going to be a bigger concern. And like at some point we have to boost the thing that like is providing the least mileage at the rate we're going into human brain. And that's really scary because it's the most important organ. It's what makes you you. And fucking with that to extend your life or to remove Alzheimer's or dementia is super scary. But if I was the individual, I would be so upset with humanity because they didn't study as like they didn't study as much.
I've always said that I oppose this stuff, but you know, it's like you said, like if I'm sitting there and I oppose transhumanism, but I'm sitting there and a chip can cure me of my ALS. If I have ALS, am I going to not take it based on principle, or will I actually?
No, you're not, because I'll fucking go there and shove it up your ass if I have to.
Just an AI chip suppository.
Yeah, for real. I mean, dude, what is it? I read that like some guy made an mRNA vaccine. Like, oh, was it like he made it in beer or some shit so you could like drink your mRNA vaccine in the future? So yeah, I'm gonna shove it up your ass for sure.
So in juxtaposition to this poor old man with depression who wants to die, they also covered this woman.
2015, the Canadian Supreme Court ruled that banning assisted dying deprived Canadians of their dignity and autonomy. But the legislation to include M.A.I.D solely for mental health keeps getting delayed. For some, though, these deferrals have been crucial in finding the right treatment.
My struggle with mental illness started when I was 23. My father died of cancer, and it took it was 3 weeks, and he was dead. So that was a shock. The first time I really experienced that kind of pain. And after that, I kind of went downhill, let's say, for the next couple of years. I was at the university doing my PhD, but it wasn't going well. I couldn't focus. So between 25 and 45, approximately, I had several bouts of depression, like it was recurring. So every time they give me antidepressants, and then I go crashing again, and with higher and higher doses, it was getting more difficult to get better. I had, several moments where I was suicidal.
Georgia eventually received the correct diagnosis for bipolar disorder rather than depression in 2021. The change of medication changed her life and her outlook on mental health.
Life for me has changed since I got my diagnosis. Well, I am married. I also paint, have a house. Life is pretty good. I have my friends. If M.A.I.D had been available back during those times where things were really, really low, and I was suffering a lot and crying and just, there was no hope. If I asked for it, I would have gotten it, and I wouldn't be here today, and I wouldn't have known my real diagnosis, the right diagnosis in 2021. I would have died thinking I had a depression that would never go away. On the individual level,
so that's basically it for her, because and that's just right. What do they give you? 90 days 90 days if you are suffering from severe unrelenting depression and an urge to die, then they say that you can kill yourself with M.A.I.D. And yet some people, I know people that have bipolar or whatever that weren't diagnosed for years, and that eventually once they were diagnosed, and I have my own opinions on medical interventions with drugs that kind of alter your brain chemistry or whatever they do, but they do eventually find the right kind of treatment, and then they're able to go on living their lives. Like if you have ALS, yeah, you're going to die a horrible way, to the point where maybe I would support M.A.I.D if it was only for ALS. But of course, that's not what's happening. It's the slippery slope in that now they're entertaining. This woman honestly reminds me of a lot of gay men.
It just wants its foot in the door. That's the thing. Once
Exactly.
your foot is in the door, it's over.
And she reminds me a lot of people that talk that that oppose transgenderism, and they go, well, I was a boy when I was young, and I was non-gender conforming, and today I'm may well have likely thought that I was quote unquote transgender, and I might have gone down a path of medicalization. And so this woman's saying that if this would have been available to her, she probably would have gone through it, but now she's come out on the other end stronger and actually has a happy, fulfilling life with a husband and friends. It's just why it should never be allowed for mental illness.
Well, it's because of this human urge or idea or obsession or something, this pitfall we fall into of it's the end of history. Like we had America did this after the Soviet Union. We're like, oh, the Soviet Union collapsed. All right, it's the end of history. We are going to be in power forever. Nothing's going to matter. Let's send all our factories to China. And then 30 years later, oh wait, hold on. They have a bigger what? They have a bigger navy. They're going to have a bigger navy. Their production is much higher. What's going on here? Wait a second. Hold on. Or we think that, oh, like in my case, oh yeah, I'm terrible, I'm toxic. It's just the end of history. I'm not going to find anyone. I'm not even going to bother. What's the point? It's the end of history. Or this woman who was like, it's the end of history. I'm depressed. I'm going to stay depressed. Nothing ever is going to be good. We just resign ourselves to the worst possible timeline or outcome for ourselves. And then we just continue to feed in that. And sometimes, here's the problem, like for some people, and like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's just, it's not that depression feels good, but it feels comfortable.
I mean, it definitely does feel a bit, you eventually sort of get used to it to the point. I mean, when I'm depressed, I'm a completely different person. I can't talk to anybody. I don't want to go anywhere. Like I said, nothing tastes good. Nothing feels good. Everything just seems like it's great. Like when I think to how I am when I'm depressed, it actually seems like a completely different person. You are in a completely different mindset. You don't think rationally. You awfulize everything. And so the fact that M.A.I.D proponents think that these people can be in a sound state of mind to be able to make these decisions while at the same time acknowledging they're suicidal, but then saying they're not suicidal, even though they want to die. The sheer amount of contradictions in those beliefs, it is insane to me that so many people look at this and think that it makes sense. Like, do you have like an internal monologue inside you? Are you not asking these same questions, questioning this like logic or lack thereof?
Well, it's because it's this idea of just like, I have this weird interpretation of freedom and it's just do whatever. Like you could do whatever you want and that just makes you happy. But that all of that presumes that you have the objective view of your own life, which is impossible to have because you're in it. You're not viewing it from the outside. You don't have a reference point. You just
like you said before, like you'll give great advice to someone else, but you struggle, and I struggle with this too, giving that same advice to myself, because it often people, the left often relies on, lived experience. You have to talk to this person. I'm like, oftentimes the people that are involved in this topic that they're advocating on cannot see it clearly because they're so far in the weeds. Other people can see it much more clearly because they're not invested in like the outcome that you are.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that other people should have autonomy over your lives. I mean, in extreme cases, they should have, like if you're going to actively kill yourself, and someone is there to stop you, like they should and have the right to stop you. Like it's your loved one, because that's probably what's going to happen. Even if it's a stranger, like I wouldn't be okay with that sort of thing. Like just seeing someone like end their lives right in front of me, like I'm walking on a bridge and I see someone's going to jump. I'm not going to fucking walk away from that. Like, I don't care what the law says. Like, I'm not going to live with myself in that case. And dear Lord, if the law gets involved and like does something about that because, I didn't doing a good enough job, like go fuck yourselves. Like part of the reason why this person is jumping off the bridge is because of the problems with your government. So go, like, maybe you should look at yourselves, once in a while.
There's been multiple, and we'll kind of end it here. There's been multiple articles talking about how, because society now, even like relatively poor people could have an okay life, right? Like they have a condo or not even a condo, like an apartment, and they could, still watch Netflix. And they're going paycheck to paycheck, and they're one life emergency away from being in complete poverty and being homeless. Like quality of life is good in a lot of instances, but at the same time, there is this widespread lack of meaning, of purpose, of telos. And we're getting to a point where, is it the people that are in charge of our society and sort of pushing humanity in these bizarre directions? Can it be argued that they are responsible for a lot of these mental maladies that people are suffering from, and then their solution is to essentially kill these people? At what point do you look at some child who's been driven insane that he thinks he's the opposite sex or gender and that he can be cured through mutilating himself? At like what point do you look at the people in charge and saying, well, you're telling that person that instead of offering them an actual valid way of dealing with that? So at what point do you look at these officials and be like, are you the ones that are actually causing us to do that to ourselves and you're offering these perverse solutions? Like at what point is it just murder?
And just the fact that it's easier to get MAID assistance. Oh, I hate that I'm even saying it that way. That you get that over other sorts of mental health assistance. That's the disgusting part too. It's just like, hey, wait a second. You're forcing one solution to this. Wait a second. Bro.
And it's also, you know, there's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get too conspiratorial, but there has been a large push by Malthusians, this idea that there's too many people on the earth. And if you look at the future, humans are going to be rendered obsolete in some fashion or another. I think it'll probably be worse than the original Industrial Revolution.
So actually, sorry for interrupting, but I just like 5 minutes before we started, I saw a post from Elon Musk basically saying like it was Vittorio, I believe, basically saying like all of the trends that we've had in the modern day are pushing for the same thing, which is having less kids. Yeah, this is going in the same direction.
So apparently this is from some TV show or movie. I haven't looked it up. And I think it was obviously released during the peak COVID George Floyd mania. And we'll just let it speak for itself.
Playing at maybe being like white critical. Maybe we're white traitors, but the goal is to be white abolitionists. And that means actually
changing institutions, dismantling whiteness, and not allowing whiteness to reassert itself. But we're pretty much light years away from that.
Are you fucking retarded? What the fuck are you talking about? You're white.
We're playing at maybe.
But that's all we got. Next time we'll try to do something that is not as depressing as MAID. Maybe we'll just talk about the depopulation agenda and how many of our elites are genocidal maniacs, because that's way more cheerful.
Accelerationism and the wiping out of billions of people over a period of 20 years. That's much more pleasant than this, right?
Oh, I think so. Also, really quick, let's not get carried away. I know I no longer have the Christmas hat, the bow tie, or the wreath, but it still technically is the Christmas season. So Merry Christmas, everyone. We got the 12 days of Christmas going until I think January 6th or January 7th. I'm actually trying to put myself in this mindset.
Did you say January 6th? How dare you? How dare you say January 6th?
I'm trying to put myself in this mindset because I always get post-Christmas blues. And this is the first Christmas that I'm actually celebrating it in the religious context, as opposed to just the sort of like atheist, materialistic, sort of devoid of any religiosity type of point of view. So I'm trying to put myself in that context so I could actually, you're supposed to carry the Christmas spirit in your heart and soul throughout the whole year, but I'm trying to actually enjoy the 12 days of Christmas as opposed to just one day where we give presents to each other. But that is all we got. Thanks, guys.